43. Live stream number 43. Live streaming 43 days in a row. And first up today in the program, we are giving a shout out to Nectar Bridge, my buddy Gary Smith, who's been in the Magento community for some time now, has sent me, I hope you can see this in the video, has sent me some goodies. And we are going to do an unboxing. That was a pretty quick unboxing. Unboxing is such a funny word. We're going to do a quick unboxing of the swag. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Gary and Nectar Bridge. So, here, this is pretty good. I like this. Is this a... Okay, so first we've got pens. All right, we've got pens. Very cool. Very cool. What else do we got? We've got tea. Okay, so I get the sense that this is a... I've never actually seen exactly this type of a cup before. Is this a... is this a teacup? What is this? There's some instructions here. Here are a few helpful tips to enhance your enjoyment of your new drinkware. Wash all parts in warm, soapy water. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to make sure I have my YouTube channel pulled up so that I can participate in the live chat. So I will do that now. I got that pulled up. Feel free to chime in with any questions or comments. Okay. So anyways, this is pretty sweet. Pens are cool. More importantly, Gary is cool. And I've known Gary for a number of years. And he is actually helping me out. So Nectar Bridge is his consulting business. We've got a large pop-up on the screen and a lot of orange. So, you know, Gary has a lot of experience in the Magento space, agency side and whatnot. And he's been helping me out with some operation stuff for Commerce Hero on a consulting basis, and he's been doing a great job. And so if you're looking for somebody that can help out with this type of stuff, operations and whatnot, I just want to give him a shout out because he's a great guy. Yeah, I think that he's probably has some availability to do different types. And then that's Gary right there. That is Gary's smiling face right there. So yeah, that's pretty much that. Shout out to Gary. All right, now I gotta clear all this stuff off my table because honestly, it's gonna mess up my whole workflow vibe. Okay. All right, jumping into the next topic here. Got a haircut yesterday, by the way. Very cool. Okay, next up. We're doing lots of shout outs today and reviews and things of that sort. And next up, I want to talk about Akuva. So this is a Twitter thread where actually it originated from talking about the Shopify outage, and then of course that brings you into discussing some of the pros and cons of SaaS versus open source. And I've heard a lot of good things about Akuva. Don't totally understand exactly how it works yet, but Aussie is a really, really interesting guy, and he's been he's a great follow on Twitter. And anyways, he was explaining how they sort of like fill the gap between SaaS and DIY. SaaS equals rent a platform. It will pose constraints. DIY comes with a hefty tax on managing complexity. Totally true. SaaS makes it easier and low and predictable total cost of ownership. DIY equals ownership of platform and freedom to customize it. And then there's this great chart here. And And then so it's basically best of both worlds. So I want to take a couple minutes to look at Akuva, look at the website here, and love starts with a K. Knowledge isn't power. It's a kind of love. We call it K hosting, managed Magento cloud hosting. So Akuva is the company name, and K hosting is the platform, I guess. Okay, here we go. Let's jump in. Why choose Akuva to host Magento? We take away the headache when cloud hosting for Magento. Uh-oh. Now, as per usual, most sites are not really, they are not very visible on, hey, what's up, Aussie? What's going on, man? I should probably tell him. Doing a live stream review now. Okay. So... okay, why choose Akuva? So the text is a little blocking me right here, but it says, what does it say? Something. Actually, it's sort of completely blocking the copy here, which is a little bit unfortunate. You zoom out a tiny bit. Okay, all right. Well, let's keep going here. Maybe what actually I should do is zoom in to get the phone view, because usually the phone view is good. People generally pay attention to their phone view and their desktop view, and then tablet is that awkward, messy middle, which gets a little weird. Okay, here we go. Your tailor for life, instantly made to measure, affordable luxury, alterations on demand. That's cool. So it's kind of like and I think Aussie is Italian. Although for some reason I thought he lived in the UK. Let me see if I can find. I wish I wish Twitter would show location on the on this little pop-up. That would be super handy a lot of the time. Where are you? Yeah, London. Yeah. He's in London, but I believe he is Italian. Okay, your tailor for life. A good tailor gets to know their customer intimately. They take precise measurements. Whose founders have an undisputed heritage in tailoring successful commerce. That's really cool. I like that. I like that theme of the tailoring, the fashion kind of theme. It gives it. I don't know if this is an Italian thing, but it feels like an Italian kind of like I imagine like like an old school Italian tailor who I know intimately and knows my site. Okay, okay, so I like that. I like that theme. As a person trying to understand kind of how it works technically, I'm a little bit still not seeing that. So let's see. Instantly made to measure. A true bespoke tailor can take something off the peg and know exactly how to adapt. Absolutely made to measure suit. Of course, it takes years of experience. Uh-oh. I think the chat just took over the screen. And this is also maybe handy for you to be aware of some of the usability issues with the site. Hopefully that won't pop up again. All right. SaaS benefits without the side effects. So I love the value prop overall as far as I understand it. Now, okay, here we go. Let's try to jump in and try to get to know a little bit more about hosting. As we know, it is not good enough anymore. Fine-tuned monitoring, automation, self-healing, and auto-scaling capabilities. Proactive support, just a few of the basic requirements. All right, now you're speaking my language. Case sizing, size matters. How do we get the best possible cloud infrastructure? Okay, and then it's a contact link. Okay, stability, visibility. So I'm sort of looking for more information. I know it's pushing me to a contact form, which is probably good from a sales perspective to kind of get people on the phone and close the deal. But okay, let me see if I can get some more information on how it works. Like I get the sense it's an AWS management wrapper, but I'm not entirely sure. Collaboration starts with a K. Who the host that never sleeps. Boom, boom, boom. Knowledge isn't power, it's a kind of love. Yeah, so I'm not really seeing who customers. I'm guessing the blog probably has some more in-depth information, but I probably don't want to dive too deep into this. Yeah, JH is one of the people I've heard talk, really speak really highly of Akuva, and JH is a really solid solutions partner. So that's one of the instant things that made me think Akuva knows what they're doing. Got some cool brands here. I'm seeing Grays. So anyways, I think that's it for now. I'm sure there's probably information on the blog and in different places that talk specifically about how it works, like a little bit more of a technical level, but I'm not seeing that on the website here. It's possible I'm missing it. But anyways, maybe I'll do a part 2 at some point when I can do a little bit of a deeper dive. But definitely you should check them out if you were thinking about hosting. Again, none of these are sponsored. Nothing is ever sponsored. I just want to review it because I think it's cool. Okie dokie dokie dokie. Next up, this is a very touchy-feely topic next here. Very touchy-feely. Use my quote generator jobby. Okay, so I have been thinking about this from a doing content, doing video perspective, and what it said. By the way, I gotta change this color because as I'm watching these videos back, I can hear my kids yelling very loudly in the background right now. Hopefully you're not hearing that. Let me do a different color. Why won't you let me change the color, dude? Why won't you let me change the color, Barosif? What is the deal? Double click. Why can't I change this? Click here. Oh, is it because it's inline? What in the world? Oh, here we go. Here we go. Yeah, let's do... There we go. Let's do more of this kind of a color. And I'm going to give myself a note just so that I don't forget that. For future reference. Okay, back to the topic at hand. Part of the reason we cringe when we see ourselves on video is that we don't love ourselves. So again, very touchy-feely kind of a topic here. But I've been doing a lot of video, and it's and I've heard this from other people too. I think this is a universal thing. Like seeing yourself on video can be difficult. Hearing yourself on audio, hearing your own voice can be difficult. You kind of get used to it when you do it over and over and over again. But I think it's really a real thing. I'm trying to remember where I first got this idea. I think it might have been my buddy Steve had a video he did on this topic. And I gotta pull that back up because I think that's where I originally got this idea from. But basically, yeah, like there's when we see ourselves on video and then we kind of cringe a little bit because we're like, oh man, I don't like the way I look, or I don't like the way I talk, or, we're so much of the time we're our most harshest critics. And I think there really is a level of like, whether you call it like self-hatred or not loving ourselves, like when that happens, I think that's real. And I think that we should maybe, when we have that feeling, it's not to say everybody needs to do video. Obviously, that's not the case. I do think that it is a growing trend. More people are going to do video. I mean, video is really just capturing yourself talking. If you walk into a room and talk to people, that's you communicating. It's really just taking that and capturing it. So in some ways, I think it will become a universal medium of communication. and I think people are going to get more comfortable with it. But yeah, like I think we should maybe try to struggle with that feeling and realize that, you know, it's not true. Like when you look at yourself, oh, I look horrible, or whatever. Like, I think we should sort of challenge that and not just accept it and be like, oh yeah, I just hate looking at myself on video and that's normal. Right. And maybe it is normal in a sense that like probably most people feel that way. My kids are being super loud in the background, which is distracting me. So yeah. So anyway, that's pretty much what I want to say about that. Love yourself. I say that jokingly, but yeah, I think it is. I think it is really important. You know. Okay. Next up. Mini retirement. Tweet from Andrew Wilkinson. Have been thinking about doing a mini retirement. Shut myself out of email, social media for 1 to 2 weeks. Only work on deep work, passion projects, and hobbies. Has anyone done this? And then I think I replied. Well, now I can't find my reply because it's probably buried in here. But basically what I said was I basically tried this. You know, I kind of called it a sabbatical and stuff like that, if you were following that on the Twitters. And a couple of the lessons I learned, well, I didn't I'm trying to remember. I didn't completely shut myself out of email. I kind of just try to get it down to the bare minimum. Or I think what I did is I did email once a week, and I had my assistant kind of handling things. And email tends to stress me out a lot. That's one thing that I know about myself, and I want to try to minimize that. But basically, also social media. I've been doing a lot of social media lately, and there was a period where I really pulled back from it quite a bit. And, you know, I was trying, part of the problem for me was that I didn't really have any hobbies. And that's been something that I've been trying to develop. You know, I think that as you get married and have a family and have a career and a business, like you kind of just lose your hobbies. You know, I used to do different things like salsa dancing and rollerblading and capoeira and all this different stuff. And so, part of what my takeaways from it, when you sort of force yourself not to quote work, you just have a lot of time in the day, and you realize that it's actually pretty painful to have that much free time. And then you, at least for me personally, you have to find things to fill your day. And I had to put more structure to my day. Like just having a whole day that's totally free is actually like pretty miserable for me. And so like I had to build some structure where I'm like, okay, I get up in the morning, I walk my dog, and then I started going to the gym more often, doing that 3 days a week. I started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which has been cool, 2 days a week, and just building things into my schedule. But basically for me, it was kind of like, okay, I'm going to not work. I'm going to do like a mini retirement or a sabbatical, or whatever you want to call it. And then I kind of ran into a wall where I was like, oh man, this kind of sucks. But I kind of forced me to like, okay, if I'm not going to work, what am I going to do? And then it kind of forced me to find some other things. And like now, like I'm really enjoying, some of the new hobbies or activities I picked up, like the gym and the jiu-jitsu and stuff. And walking I've done pretty consistently for a while, but that's enjoyable as well. And then, I've been working actually a lot the last month or so since I've been doing these live streams and more social media and different things. And so I'm working a lot again. But I think I've taken a lot of what I learned from the quote sabbatical, in the sense that to me, it's not about working or not working. It's about finding rhythms that are good for you, that make you feel that you're that make you feel good, and having time of the day where you're into a cool flow state where you're getting work done and doing things you enjoy and exercising. And, it's so good, obviously for your mind, for mentally and for your mindset to get that exercise time in, and then also having some good social time. So for me, it's not about work versus not work. It's about just continuing to optimize my day and my routine, balancing between work and socializing and social media. I'm really kind of in some ways like falling in love with Twitter again. And a lot of people think of social media almost immediately as a negative, but it really is how you use it. It really comes down to how you use it. And I've been thinking a lot about how to be intentional about how I'm using it in ways that I'm optimizing for learning. I'm optimizing for really engaging with people in a genuine way, and things like that. And, staying away from negativity, trying to stay away from kind of overuse and things like that. And so that's been cool. But yeah, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, part of me wishes that I could just like go into the woods and like build a house. Like, that was literally something I thought about doing, and I watched a bunch of YouTube videos on, and I think that'd be awesome to just like completely disconnect and do that. And, I didn't quite get there. I kind of wish I did, but I'm feeling better and better about, my schedule these days. So, yeah. All right. Next up, on clothing advertising. So this is interesting. This is funny because I talked in a previous stream about how I think that subscription revenue is the future for podcasts, how advertising on podcasts, I think, is sort of fundamentally a worse way to monetize. And I referenced an article that talked about some of these things. And one of the things it talked about was like, most listeners don't really like hearing ads, and so you kind of fast forward through them. At least I do personally. You kind of fast forward through them. And so my boy John Davis, shout out to John, by the way, and Natalico, where he works, John Davis, aka Notorious JD, who said, loving the daily streams. You mentioned not putting ads on podcasts, but yet you are still promoting a certain school with your hat. I don't have my hat handy, but it's right over here, but I can't reach it. But it's my UT hat, which I got just because I'm like, hey, I'm in Texas. It's like a Texas hat, and so I like to rock it. But it's funny because people will mention stuff to me as if like I'm a fan of the team, and I'm just like, I don't know anything about the team. I just got the hat because like I wanted to be Texan or whatever. But anyways, so it's kind of a funny comment, and obviously they're not an advertiser, but actually, I actually think that the one type of advertising that does actually work, if you look at, sports, even, for example, it's the ads that go on people's jerseys, clothes, hats, whatever, because that type of advertising doesn't interrupt the content. So if you're watching a basketball game, or do they have ads on, or a soccer game, the ads that are on the stadium or on the jerseys, they're not a 30-second ad that's interrupting you from watching soccer. They're actually embedded into the soccer game itself. And so I actually think those types of ads do work in the sense that they don't interrupt you. It's totally different from an ad that you want to you can't fast forward through an ad that's on the player's clothing. So in that sense, those are maybe the one types of ads that do actually work. And so then for a podcast, that might actually work, right? Like some form of advertising that doesn't interrupt the podcast. So anyway, it was kind of a funny comment, but actually I think there's something interesting there. All right. Next up. Okay. So this one's funny. Let me pull up my quote jobby. Ah, man, now I lost my cool new color. I wonder if I can just open up Sublime real quick and change the color. Because that neon green color is not the working for me. Background color. Save. Refresh. There we go. Sweet. Okay, coming back. All right. I left my house without my cell phone, AMA. So actually, last night, so I've been starting to use, so I have my main phone, which has my, cell plan on it and stuff, phone calls, all that kind of stuff. And then I have my other older phone, which, doesn't have a cell plan on it. It just has, Wi-Fi and stuff. And I've started to use that for certain things. Like when I'm doing the stream, I use that because like there's this weird Bluetooth bug on the phone where even if it's in do not disturb mode, if somebody calls, these Bluetooth Bose headphones will tell me somebody's calling and totally interrupt me. So I was like, that's annoying. So I started using my non-cell phone, or my phone that doesn't have a cell plan attached to it, just so I know I'm not going to get interrupted. And so I've been thinking like, man, like, it's so easy to just be glued to the phone, and it's something I'm trying to be better about. And so I was just going to go to the grocery store last night, to get some stuff. And I was like, you know what, let me just take my non-cell phone, my phone that doesn't have cell on it. The reason why was because my regular phone was out of batteries. So I was like, let me just take my non-cell phone. And so I downloaded a podcast and then just, so I could play it while I was at the grocery store. And it felt really strange because like you're so used to having your phone at all times, being reachable at all times. And it's like I feel it's important to be able to disconnect a little bit. And not having the cell access means that I can't be checking Twitter when I'm at the grocery store, which is like, why do I need to check Twitter at the grocery store? So it was good. I felt a little more relaxed, knowing that I wasn't connected, so to speak. And and one of the things, to be honest, having a family you think about is you're like, well, I have to be reachable in the case of an emergency. And that's a real thing that, people do worry about. But I think the truth is, in a real emergency, emergency services are going to kick in first and foremost, whether that's 911 or whatever, in the case of a true emergency. And so I think that for the sake of like, the same thing would apply if you went off the grid to go mountain climbing or hiking or something like that. Like even as dads and husbands, spouses, whatever, like we have to be able to give ourselves some room to be off the grid. I think it's healthy. And going to the grocery store for 45 minutes is obviously a very limited off the grid. Like I think that we should give ourselves some space to be off the grid and to realize even emergency situations, like really, that's what emergency services. First of all, chances anything is going to happen are very, very, very low. And second of all, if something did happen, that's really what, emergency services are for. So I think it's good to be able to give ourselves a little bit of bandwidth to be unreachable, if that's for an hour at a time or 2 or 3 hours at a time. And of course, having expectations around when you're going to check in again, with, obviously your family or work or whatever those expectations are. Obviously you want to be consistent in those areas, but anyway, it was cool to just, leave the house without my cell phone. Okay. Last up here, wait for this to load up. Okay, I wanted to talk specifically about a content format that I would recommend for some people to use. So pulling up Derek Sivers' YouTube channel, I talked about this in a previous stream, but what he's doing here is basically reading his blog posts on a YouTube video, which is actually not a video. It's just essentially audio on YouTube, and then it's also in a podcast format, which I think is totally brilliant, and it allows me to consume his content in a way that's a lot easier for me to get into. I don't read a lot of blog posts, and actually, I think that the place I first saw this mentioned was, I believe it was on Kurt Elsner's Twitter page. So I want to give him credit for that. I think I saw him recommend that as a way to generate content, which is essentially if you have written content and you want to generate video content in a really easy way, literally just read the I'm probably not going to be able to find the tweet, but literally just, I'm pretty sure it was him, literally just read the content. And then you can connect that to some photo slides in a YouTube channel, or the way Derek Sivers is doing it, literally just have a single photo up there with, he has like a title, and just read your content in there. And it's a really easy way to get your content, because like even myself personally, what made me think about this is I saw some written content. It was an email newsletter, and I was like, oh man, I want to read that. I want to consume that. But I'm like, I know that I'm just not going to go to my email and read the newsletter. Like that just doesn't work for me, like as a way to consume content, even though I was genuinely interested in it. And so I was like, man, I wish that they would do this. Basically, I wish that they would do this format, and it doesn't take a lot of time to do. So I was like, man, I wish they could do that so I could actually, consume that topic that they were talking about. So yeah, so if you're somebody that has, written content, I think a real low-hanging fruit is to literally just read it, convert it to audio and video, and I think you're just going to allow your audience to consume that content you're just going to have another way for them to do it. There's going to be people who are going to want to read it, of course, and you're already hitting that base. But if you're not hitting the other bases, audio and video, you're kind of missing out. And, the hard work is actually producing the original piece of content, right? That's the hard work. So you've done that. Why not take the 2, 3, 5 minutes to turn it into audio and video, so that you can reach then a wider audience on something where you already put the work in to do the actual content. So that is all I have for you today. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you have a fantastic Thursday, and I